20 years ago, a film was made which began, Miss Hope Bourne can be found, with difficulty, in the wilderness of Exmoor. Down there in the valley, there is a tiny caravan. It's now deserted, but it was home to Hope Bourne for 25 years.
A remarkable woman of uncertain age, Hope lived off her wits in the land for those 25 years, with only a small caravan to call her own.
I think that human nature really is geared to adventure, to challenge, to strife in a certain way, to risk, to uncertainty, to all that we mean by hunting.
Food came from nature's larder, hunting and growing. Her occasional writing and drawing earning enough to pay for what she could not provide for herself. Yet Hope Bourne, more than any other, has come to speak for and fight for the Exmoor she loves so much. Every Friday, whatever the weather, Hope would walk 4 miles across the moor to the post office in Withypool. Here she would collect her mail and buy what little she needed. This was her main contact with the outside world.
Oh, Mr. Jeffries, lovely day.
Yes.
Nice after the rain. Any mail for me, please?
Yes, 2 letters. Excuse me, Harry. There you are. I'd like you to meet Mr. Mackenzie, the new proprietor. There we are. Harry, this is Miss Bourne. We had just Mr. Mackenzie.
We met for a brief moment outside.
Yes.
How do you do? Welcome to Withypool.
Thank you very much indeed. We're looking forward
Pleased to
it.
see you, though so sorry Mr. Jeffries is going.
That's very nice of you to say, Hope. Now, Miss Bourne comes in every Friday at about 3 o'clock to collect her loaf of bread and her box of matches and any mail which you've kept for her.
20 years on, it would be the pressures of change on Exmoor that brought me to see Hope. We had met some years before and had stayed in touch. For Hope had a knowledge and understanding of the moor, its people and places, which made her a fascinating companion on that spring day.
But unfortunately there was a heath fire up here about a week ago. You can see the blackness over there.
What do you think about swaling? Because, I mean, we've had terrible problems down on Dartmoor with it.
Well, the swaling is a proper part of moorland management, but it wants to be done with great care and under proper control, whereby you ensure that you burn what is you want or need to burn, and no more. Unfortunately, fires tend to get out of control.
I suppose, actually, over 45 years, you would have witnessed a lot of changes up here.
When I first knew Exmoor, I think there had been very little real change in the land and landscape for 100 or so years. Of course, things do change, but they have changed gradually until the past recent decades.
But our recent story begins in the autumn of 1994, on the traditional weekend for the rounding up of the Exmoor ponies. It was also Hope's last Friday visit to the post office in Withypool. She too was coming down from the moor. Advancing years and failing health, her childhood asthma had returned with a vengeance, meant that Hope had reluctantly agreed to move down to the village. From now on, the postman would come to her door. No more 8-mile round trips to collect a letter or to buy matches or chocolate.
That's the mail.
That's it,
Right.
yes. There are 2 trellises over there, but Colonel Martin, who's dealing with it, isn't here at the minute. So I don't know, I mean, you're welcome to have them, and I'm sure that the price will be similar to
as we agreed before. So they're around, but until you
I want them anyway, so...
Yes, yeah. Shall I weigh those, Miss Bourne?
Oh, sorry, I forgot they had to be weighed.
Thanks.
And bread and matches, and that's all. I don't need any paraffin.
Right.
Okay.
£4.61 altogether, please, Miss Bourne. Thank you.
Well, the date, 21st.
21st,
21.
Thank you very much. Thanks. 78.
Her new home would be a small rented house where the untamed moor met the edge of the village. For Hope, there was no excitement of a new home, only a deep sadness for her loss of independence and the loss of a half-hidden corner of Exmoor, where a vegetable plot and a shepherd's caravan provided her food and shelter. This is where writer and broadcaster Dan Farson had met her 20 years ago.
I did hear some time ago that you tried to live on £1 a week.
No question of trying. I can live on less than that. I think I might say my income has averaged out at £100 a year, because as you must be aware, writing is the most precarious, uncertain and poorly paid trade in the world. At times I've earned more than that when I've had a book placed, but at other times I've earned little or sometimes nothing at all in a year, so that I say the average has been that over my working life, you might say. And in all that time, I have never taken a penny of public money. I've saved enough money to see Australia. I have been in Canada, and now I'm going into private printing. I've saved enough to get myself a start in that. And
print your own book.
And print my own book. And one other thing I will say, on that budget, in my way of life, I have never begged, I have never borrowed, I have never owed money. And that's more than the Chancellor of the Exchequer can say.
You're an extremely rich woman, then.
I think so.
What about your light? What do you use?
I have a paraffin lamp there. 2, as a matter of fact. They're quite adequate for reading and writing.
Do you have a radio?
I have a small radio. They don't probably see it.
No, I can't see it. Mind you, it's quite crowded in there, isn't it?
That's an understatement. There's a tiny transistor and there's a larger, older radio set. That's my window on the world.
What are your favourite treats?
If I have a few pence to spend any time, my ultimate in luxury is a bit of chocolate. I love chocolate, but I don't often have it because it's expensive.
In 1970, Hope had bought an old shepherd's caravan at the burnt-out farm at Ferny Ball. But by 1994, it was proving difficult to keep warm and dry. The frames had rotted, and the sides had started to come away.
My association with the farm had nothing to do with buying the caravan and coming to live here. But the first winter I was here, we had snow, and I saw my landlord and his son struggling in from their home farm 10 miles away to feed the bullocks. Here, I said, here's the cattle in the coombe, there's the hay in the barn, and here am I between them. I'll feed them for you. And he was very pleased. And so it went on. I fed the cattle all through the winter. And then I kept an eye on the sheep. And more or less I became custodian of the farm. And in return I had what pleased me to have very much. And that was the shooting, the right to fish, and the use of the old vegetable garden. I wrote for a living because I could see that apart from producing all that I could for basic needs. I did need a small income wherewith I could buy those things which I could not readily produce for myself. So I took to writing. I'd always liked keeping a journal, and, well, it covered expenses and something over so that I was able to save money. And that's been my life for the past more than 20 years. I get up early. I'm up by what is by nature's time, 5 o'clock all the year round. That is 6 in the summer with summertime, which I believe is going back this Sunday. And I put my breakfast on to cook. I always have a hearty breakfast. It's my main meal of the day. What other people would have for lunch or dinner, I have for breakfast. Any meat that I've got, and I cook vegetables and make a big slab of oatmeal pancake, which the Australians call damper, or cowboys call flapjack. And while that's cooking, you see, I get on with the writing, which is my source of income, such as it is. Then when I've had my breakfast, I go out and attend to whatever needs to be attended to. Feed the bantams, and then go and see the sheep. Sheep are important to be seen first thing in the morning before they get into trouble, or perhaps if they already have, because the greatest disaster that can befall a sheep is to get on its back. They don't live long if they get on their backs, because the crows kill them before they die naturally. First they take the eyes, they pick the eyes out, then they tear the tongue out, and then they split the belly and pull the innards out. And if you've ever found a sheep like that and still alive and had to shoot it, you don't feel all that sentimental about nature. That's what so many people don't understand about nature, the utter ruthlessness and cruelty of it. They see the beauty, and of course it is infinitely beautiful. Look at it all round now. But it's also extremely cruel.